Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is once again directed by Jeff Fowler and stars Ben Schwartz, Jim Carrey, James Marsden, Idris Elba, and Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog. Sonic finds himself against a new hedgehog enemy that has now teamed up with two Eggmen in order to try and destroy the world. I really enjoyed the first two films. I think the first one was alright, the second one was pretty good, but a lot of human elements of those movies drag the story quite a bit, and they aren't as engaging as I think the filmmakers wanted them to be. The second movie included a lot more aspects of the games, like the Chaos Emeralds or Knuckles and the Echidnas into the film, and it was a lot more fun, but it is still not perfect. This movie learned the mistakes from both movies and makes a Sonic sequel that lives up to be the perfect Sonic sequel for any Sonic fan that you want. And I found myself having a total blast throughout the entire film. From start to finish, there was not a single moment in the film where it felt like it dragged. The story progressed at a nice pace. The character arcs and dynamics here are something that you would see out of an anime, and the character of Shadow was just awesome, and the performance by Keanu Reeves I felt was perfect. He was basically playing himself really, but for the character like Shadow, I think it was just perfect to just play himself and bring in that darker side of his performance that he brought with John Wick. With the character of Shadow, as he's kind of that same kind of character, definitely more toned down for kids, but still a tragic figure that lost a lot in his life and is wanting revenge against the world, I think worked really well and was just perfect casting all the way through. And how it showcases that tragedy within Shadow is what makes him such an interesting antagonist to watch. His fight sequences with Sonic are literally something that you would see out of an anime like Akira, or more specifically Dragon Ball Z. If you are a big Dragon Ball Z fan like I am, you are going to have a blast with the action sequences here, as they are the closest we're ever going to get to a live action Dragon Ball film. The fight sequences here with Sonic and Shadow, how they use their speed and their abilities, was just awesome. Especially in the final act, which got me hyped in my seat. I felt like a little kid. More like a kid than any of the children in my audience watching this film. It was just so much fun. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik and Gerald Robotnik was awesome. The technology to make these two performances by the same actor actually feel natural and like they are talking to each other in the same room was perfect. Like, it was seamless. I was like bamboozled, really. How did this work so well? They play off with each other so well. The performance felt different, like you are watching two different people. Jim Carrey brought his A game here and showed that he's not just a good comedy actor, but just a good actor in general that knows how to sell a performance. And a lot of that is due to the great characterization of Robotnik here, which I felt like was even better than in the previous films. He felt more real. He felt like he has a lot more at stake here, that he's actually going through something. He's not just as mustache twirly as he was in the previous few films. He has a literal character arc that felt natural for where his character is going from the previous films to now. And I really liked what the film did with this character, how it made him feel real, and how it made Gerald, despite being just as silly as he can be, also a bit more antagonistic, a bit more evil in the coldest of ways, as he shares the same past with Shadow, except he takes it to a much angrier level. That pain, he takes it to a much higher degree that is going to threaten the entire world. And I really like how that dynamic shifts with Robotnik and how he starts to see his grandfather later on as less of a family member and more of a much darker side of what he is. He likes being evil, but he loves the planet he lives on. He doesn't want to see it go. And so seeing these two characters go at each other like that, at first getting along, but then we're starting to uncover the differences between these two characters, I think was really engaging. That isn't to say that the film is like peak Oscar writing. There is still a lot of stuff here that even a 5-year-old can pick up on. Like with the characterization of Sonic here, you already know what his characterization is going to be like. The movie spells it out for you. But honestly, it wasn't really that bad. The characterization that Sonic is going through here and the arc he has, I think was done really well still. I just wished it wasn't as spelled out to the audience as I hoped it would. And I felt like the movie could have leaned back on the more like in-your-face type of ways it expresses the themes of staying true to yourself in your heart and staying true to your friends and protecting your family at all costs. Like, the movie's not subtle about any of those themes, but it still expressed them in a really engaging manner with the character Shadow and Sonic and how their dynamic is like in the film. And it just felt like the movie had a lot more effort put into the characterizations here and the writing of these characters than ever before. And it focuses a lot more on Sonic and Shadow, like I'd say 90% of the time. The only times when Tom and Maddie come in are only when the plot demands it and when the story needs them. And even then, they are at their best here. They are really likable characters that actually felt like they had a reason to be in the story when they need to. And they were a lot of fun to watch, actually. These actors do a really good job and they banter off with Sonic and his friends very well. Knuckles is a lot of fun. Tails has a lot more to do here, as his character is like having a bit of a dynamic with Sonic about him being his best friend. And I like the discussion of him with Eggman's assistant and how they start to see each other as either assistant or friends with Sonic or Eggman, and how the assistant is having a bit of arc himself about whether or not he does see himself as just an assistant or as a genuine friend to Dr. Robotnik. The movie does a lot with even some of the more minor characters here. And I also love how it makes Team Sonic feel like a unique team, with Tails being the one with all the gadgets and the smarts, Sonic being the one with super speed and being the leader, and him trying to be the best leader he could be for this team, and Knuckles being a bit more more fists than brains, but he still has a good heart. He still tried to keep true to his values, and those values often conflict with Sonic, and he does his best to try and keep Sonic at a much clearer mind in the later half of the film. The action is exciting, the directing is really good, a lot of the darker moments here shine really well. This movie was awesome. Not perfect, the themes can be a little bit more out there than it should. I felt like it could have been a little bit more subtle with how it expresses its themes, really. And I felt like it could have just talked down to the audience a little bit less. But for the most part, I found myself having a blast with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Shadow was awesome, Sonic was awesome, the action is awesome, the directing is awesome, the humor was a lot better here. This was just everything I wanted out of a Sonic the Hedgehog film. And I cannot wait to see what the fourth film has in store. I'm going to give Sonic the Hedgehog 3 an A-. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.